How are you, sir?
I'm well, Brett. How are you?
Good. Anything you want to let us know? I'm kidding.
I just came from the dentist, so this side of my mouth is numb. So if I
So say your
drool, please don't laugh at me.
ABCs. Yeah, say your ABCs. I'm kidding. I'll cut you a little slack.
Thanks.
We've all been there. We totally relate. Rick Hale, I'm hoping your mouth is not numb. You're good, right? Oh, we can't hear you. Can't hear you. All
Weird.
right. Well, let's jump into the numbers while Rick's getting his microphone figured out over there.
Sounds like a
There
plan.
we go.
All
I
right,
should be
there we
on
go.
now.
All
There you
right.
are. What's up, Rick?
Hey, what's up?
See you, sir. All right. Fulton County. So I want to give us a perspective as we're looking through these numbers. So, Mark, you were there with me in Dallas when the head data analyst for Housing Wire was talking, and he was talking about this specific stat called mortgage applications.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about how the normal cycle for mortgage applications, it usually starts around January 15th, and it's just an upward trajectory till about May 1st, and then it tapers off the second half of the year,
Right.
i.e. the spring market, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
what he was talking about is the mortgage applications were still on a climbing pace through the month of May, which to me, I find as a very optimistic statement, as in we're expecting the next 60, 90 days to be pretty healthy.
Right.
And it also kind of proved the statement we've been making for a while now that the spring market for 2025 just kind of got pushed further into the
Delay.
year. But I want to keep that frame of reference when we're going through these numbers and see if we can find evidence that proves that true or evidence that disproves it, right?
Sounds good.
All right. So for Fulton County, we had 1,046 new active listings coming on the market in the last 7 days, which is pretty healthy. We had some bigger weeks in April and May, but we're still really pushing new active listings coming on the market. I'm excited about that because I believe inventory has been the one thing that's really kind of held the real estate industry back. And the lack of inventory specifically created the big price appreciation that we saw over the last couple of years. So obviously, if you're a homeowner, you wish your house was appreciating double digits. Yet, as a real estate professional, there's always a day of reckoning that pulls the real estate market back. So we actually kind of want that balance in terms of the real estate careers we all enjoy.
Agreed.
So inventory at 1046 is good. 123 went under contract in the last 7 days. Obviously, we had some weeks that were 170, 160, 123 to me seems a little low for the first week right now, coming off the holiday week. And maybe since Monday was Memorial Day, instead of 7 days of people going under contract, they only probably worked six. Mark, you always like to point that out.
Yeah,
Wouldn't you think
maybe
that's,
5 or 4.
yeah. I
So
think people kind of check out around Memorial Day eating
correct.
eating hot dogs, huh?
Yep.
All right, but I want to show you this number here. So at the beginning of May, Fulton County had 287 properties that were pending after the end of the month close. So right now at the beginning of June, there's 283 properties pending after the month end close. So more or less, we're starting the next 30 days pretty comparable to how we started the previous 30 days, which I believe the previous 30 days had some good numbers in it in terms of closing. So I feel
Sure.
encouraged by that. I'm not sure it's every county is going to show that, but in terms of Fulton County, it certainly shows that. Look at this expired number.
Mm.
246. If you add withdrawals on top of that, that's 300 and math, Brett.
361.
356, 361. That's an enormous amount of properties that expired at the end of the month.
Hmm.
Certainly something for talking here in a little bit. And then we closed out 248. I would have hoped that that number was much higher for Fulton County at the end of May, but it sure looks like we had big weeks in the middle of the month. So I'll
Yeah.
take it.
Well, and the
Um,
end of May was, Friday. So as usual, there's probably straggler closings that we'll see over the next week.
yeah, people not changing the status in the MLS and all that stuff.
Right.
All right, so DeKalb County, 745, which was a big week for DeKalb County and new listings coming on the market. 82 active under contract, same story, shortened week. But still 82 is a good number. I like it when it's over 100. But if you take one, two, to Mark's point, 4 days out of the work week, 82 is probably to be understood. Now, back 30 days ago, we were starting May with 178 pending. We're starting June with 181 pending. Pretty good numbers.
Hmm.
179 on the expired front and 141 closed out in the last 7 days.
Yeah.
So pretty comparable to what Fulton looked like.
Hmm.
And I think it's really given us that to back to my filter. It's given us good spring market evidence that the future indicators are looking pretty solid. I wouldn't say they're looking like they're on fire, but I think they're looking pretty solid going forward. Y'all see anything different before I go to Cobb?
Nope.
I will add that on the withdrawn and the expired side, I mean, 30% isn't abnormal. That's like more of a normal number. And we've been in an abnormal, interesting decade of real estate. So if you go back pre 10 years ago, 25 to 30% was kind of the standard for withdrawals and expires, where you mispositioned, you overpriced, maybe you did a shorter than normal listing period, a 90-day. And the market, now I believe from based on an article I read today is approaching 4 months for absorption. So if you did a 90-day listing and the market's average is 4 months, you're going to have some withdrawals and expires trying to relist with either a new MLS number or they simply expire and come back on the market.
Yep.
So not abnormal. It's higher than we've seen, but I'm referencing historical normals. And back in, by the way, 2010 and 11, expires and withdrawals were over 60%, 65,
Yeah.
2 out of 3, not
Yeah,
We're
one
these
in
back
numbers
three.
to
are
a
more like
norm.
2019 numbers.
Yeah, we're back to like a normal expired market.
Hmm.
Just if you've been in the business less than 10 years, this is foreign. This is a foreign concept.
Well, that's the thing is we basically, I wouldn't say they were zero, but pretty much the ugly houses were all selling.
Yeah.
All right, Cobb County. 624 new listings on the market in the last 7 days. That's a great number for them if you look kind of across the board. 85 went pending in the last 7 days. We've got 193 compared to 228 30 days ago, starting the month pending. So maybe it's a little behind, but they had a good closing number of 186 that closed out in the last 7 days. And then on the expired withdrawn front, that's what, 146? Still a pretty big number, but not as big as maybe some of the other counties.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I'll just leave it
relative
there.
to the actives, it's a high percentage still. I mean,
Yeah.
in terms of escalating
Yep.
against 624.
All right. So this is interesting. And I wanted to spend a little time talking about this. So this article on the Atlanta Business Chronicle talks about how Atlanta home sale cancellations led the country in April. So, Mark, you're in an office, you're looking at these contracts all the time. Are you seeing this?
Um, they were higher in April than I've seen them, but I didn't see that in my office like in a strong way. It was maybe a little bit higher, but wasn't crazy. But
Yeah,
I mean, when you look at the MLS wide numbers, they're pretty high.
yeah. So
Was that
basically what it's
20%?
saying is 1 out of every 5 home sale contracts were canceled across Metro Atlanta in April,
Right.
up from the 17.6% of home sales that were canceled in April 2024. So 1 in 5 is 20%.
Right.
That gives me I wouldn't say anxiety, but just pause for concern because, an agent, if I'm an agent and I'm doing an enormous amount of work just to get to the point to put a house under contract. And there's this concept of bulletproofing the transaction that tells me maybe that would be a worthy topic to maybe go read that chapter in the shift book, or maybe it becomes a team meeting topic somebody takes on and talks about, because if we're the highest in the country, I don't think the financing in Atlanta or the economics in the city of Atlanta are drastically different than the rest of the country. So the question I keep asking myself is why? Like, what's causing this to cancel at this rate? Because there's always going to be some level of cancellation. Maybe we asked the attendees today, why do y'all think that properties are canceling?
I think Michelle nailed it. It's more
Yeah.
about property condition and scrutinized, buyers are scrutinizing their transaction more aggressively. Fear of loss is no longer a big factor when supply and demand favors the
Yeah.
seller. Your biggest fear is you won't find a replacement home, and I do believe there is increased supply, but also buyers, if you're not 100% committed and you're not fear of losing something, walking away is easy. I mean, it's as
Yeah.
simple as stroking a termination
Yeah.
clause of, executing it if you've got it in the contract.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, this lends me to, maybe I'll throw a teaser out to the group. In the next 10 days, the Heart of Atlanta Group is launching a program called Seller's Edge. And what it is, it's powered by a company called Notable, which allows a seller to get an unsecured line of credit up to $50,000 to make necessary property condition repairs prior to closing. And it's a slick product. You could call it a listing concierge, or you could call it ready to list program. We just happen to name it the Seller's Edge, and we're going to be rolling it out to our entire organization in the next 10 days. And Mark, you had an agent that went ahead and kind of tested this product. Maybe tell that story for a second.
Yeah, actually, they weren't able to do it. The client didn't qualify just because it's approval based on credit score and equity. And these folks had enough equity, but they didn't have the credit score to be approved because right now the minimum is 680. They're looking for another option that would allow people with a lower credit score to get approved for it. But 680, most sellers are going to qualify for it.
Yeah.
And the application process is really fast and really easy. So it's a great product. It's just not 100% of people can take advantage of it. That's all.
So if you're on this call, one, know it's coming, and two, maybe in the next 10 days, you lean into actually reading your emails when we're telling you about it, because this is an incredible tool that I actually think speaks directly to this. It's how do we bulletproof a transaction? How do we bring that cancellation rate down? It's probably a little more upfront, getting the home condition show ready and ready to go.
Yeah.
Well,
I
this is
think
probably the era.
there's a couple of pieces to that, Brett. I think it's getting the home show ready so it shows beautifully and with no flaws at all. You have to be, a cream puff right now to do well in this market. But also, like, you can use Seller's Edge to cover the cost of a pre-listing home inspection, and to get those repairs done prior to putting on the market. So those buyers who have those really high expectations because they're paying a lot of money and their interest rate is higher than they wanted it to be, so they're wanting it to be perfect. So you can, eliminate as many of the scary things as possible, so buyers have very little reason to terminate.
There you go. All right. Let's run here for a minute. These states see the most all cash home purchases. So I saw this article on Fox Business over the weekend, and I started scrolling through it just out of curiosity. West Virginia, 41% are cash. New York, 40%. Delaware, and then I got to Georgia, and it said 37.5% of
Mhm.
our transactions are all cash. That's a high percentage to me. Um, and I think that's exciting. It just says that we've got some pretty flush cash buyers out there buying real estate in Atlanta. Yet it also speaks to the fact that I believe a lot of homeowners are taking equity out of the previous 10-year price appreciation and then putting it down on real estate. What do y'all think of this number?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been a trend since probably 2016 or 2017 where we've seen more and more cash purchases in this market. But also, I think there's a combination of the things you mentioned and fewer people that are getting that are buying homes looking at who are getting a loan. They're just like dropping out, right? So, like, if you have fewer people getting a loan, then and the number of cash purchases stays the same, then that percentage goes higher. So I think overall, it's a combination of those factors.
But I think it's
I,
a good thing for us, right? Oh, somebody was going to say
I,
something.
I was going to say, this is Susan. I was
Hey,
just going to
Susan.
say, hi. I think it also speaks to when your clients are submitting an offer that you really need to be competitive and creative because you're going to be up against, you could be up against a high number of cash buyers.
Great perspective. You're right. Because if you're bringing a client to the table in a multiple offer situation and you have financing, there's a 40% chance somebody you're competing against has all cash.
Well, I wonder what percentage of the all cash buyers are still syndications and corporate purchases, investors basically. And it
True.
depend. And the other thought is that Georgia obviously is a big pool of for data, and it probably isn't representative of every market. And so that's where knowing your immediate market really lends credibility to your capacity to be the expert.
Yep. All right. So there's this article here, and Luke's on the call. He always posts all the articles in circles. So I really want to encourage you to go download this article.
That's
And then
awesome.
Mark, this literally is like a cut and paste
Yeah.
prospecting letter template.
Yeah. And
And
there's,
go ahead, Mark.
no, I was just gonna say there's some great templates in here. And you know, if nothing else, read through them so that you sort of get the sense of what other people are doing to develop business and to generate leads, because I think there are some really smart ideas in here.
Yeah, I mean, it hits a lot of facets. And I think, you know, the question I had when I first read this, like, oh, these are brilliant. And then as I was reading through this, I was thinking, well, are people actually typing these out and putting them in the mailbox? Or then it started talking about actually doing handwritten real estate prospecting letters. My group of agents were going through this path to MREA kind of brainstorm mastermind. We talked about handwriting machines. And then there's companies like Ballpoint Marketing, I believe is one of them that'll actually do handwritten letters for you at scale.
Hmm.
So I think there's some secret sauce to making it look handwritten versus typed. Um, but nonetheless, I just wanted you to have this article as a resource. I know, Mark, you have shared it with your office, but now we're sharing it with everybody.
Yeah.
It's a really good resource.
Yeah,
All
the
right.
only thing I would recommend is make
Yeah.
sure it sounds like you. Some of them seem a little long, and if you're truly handwriting it, I mean, if it's in your target market, absolutely would recommend doing a handwritten note. It's very powerful and it's personal and it's obvious that you're invested in the community. But some of these just tweak them. But in the more personalized you can make it to the recipient, the better. So do a little social, snooping and connect the dots so that it's like a friend and a neighbor versus just a professional trying to score a listing.
I love it. All right. So this I thought was interesting, and I just want to hit a couple parts of it. So National Association of Realtors has a mid-year meeting in Washington, D.C. going on in the next few days. And one of the reasons I like to pay attention to articles like this is it tells me what our Realtor Association is focused on in terms of what they believe the challenges of our real estate industry are. And obviously, clear cooperation policy is a big part of what they're focused on. But one of the things that was in here is speech and harassment. And I find this really interesting because there's layers to this, and I'll set it up this way: is social media brought a dynamic to the table that we hadn't really had in the past. And I want to say that you've probably, if you follow other real estate groups or posts on social media, you've seen where the comment thread goes off the rails. And somebody says something that somebody gets emotional about and it goes off the rails, whether it's political or fair housing or all the things that incite emotion, and then people have opinions that goes off the rails. Us in leadership get pulled into these conversations all the time. Well, what NAR is struggling with, which is actually quite interesting, is they have our professional code of ethics, which says you can't have any kind of speech or harassment or hate speech or anything along those lines in a social media environment, or any environment specifically. But there's an argument that that violates the First Amendment free speech. So what I believe is going to come of this is the code of ethics is going to be enforced on social media environments that are real estate specific, meaning if you post something about a listing and then in the comment section it goes down into some kind of harassment or something that would be a violation of code of ethics, that would count. But if, Mark, you just go online and post an opinion and that gets perceived as something that somebody doesn't like, but it's not specifically tied to real estate, just because you're a real estate agent and made a status post, I don't believe that's going to fall under code of ethics, which is just going to create a nightmare for all of us because it still incites emotion. And all that to say, I'm going to make a statement that says it's absolutely a bad business practice to post anything in a social media environment that potentially could offend anybody on any side of any fence. Yet I'm here just kind of reporting the news. Did y'all read this? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're really trying to focus it on professional communications and keeping hate speech out of that. But to your point, like, especially in real estate, our businesses and our personal lives are so intertwined that it becomes harder and harder to tell what's business and what's not.
Yep.
And our audiences on social media tend to be personal and business. So
Yeah.
it's
a blurred
definitely
line,
making
right?
things convoluted.
You know, they're certainly focused on artificial intelligence. I just wanted to show you something real quick that I've been showing people. Is obviously if I went to Google and I typed top real estate agents Fulton County, there's the paid ads on the top. Then there's the local home business ads in the middle. And then there's this organic SEO content that shows up in a Google search. I don't believe I'm teaching anybody anything at this point, but I believe in the future, the homeowner is going to go to ChatGPT and type, I'm a homeowner that lives in Fulton County, Georgia. My home is worth approximately 500,000. Who are the real estate agents with the best track record and reviews I should talk to? Very different than what they would have typed into Google.
Right.
And AI goes and finds people. But here's the hack. If you look at the little gray bar at the end of it, it tells you the source code of where AI basically referenced their search. And I believe these little source codes would be a hack for real estate agents to go, man, at some point in time, I need to make sure I'm found in an AI environment. I need to pay attention to what this source code is pulling from. So obviously the way I type it in matters. And I said, who are the best real estate agents with the best track record and reviews? So obviously it's looking for reviews, it's looking for track record. But like for instance, this one, Fast Expert, is the source code AI found Cheryl Taylor on to put her in this search result. And I think just NAR saying, hey, we're focusing on AI. I know we're all trying to get a grip around how this AI comes to be. Funny story, Rick and I record our Mojo Mondays every Monday. Hopefully you got a chance to watch this morning's on the power of charm.
Charm.
And it was a fun one to record, but I actually use AI to help us prep for what are we going to talk about? What are the best talking points for this? And that's just an easy example of how AI is. We didn't do that when we started doing Mojo Monday. We were getting on the call going, what are we going to talk about? What are the talking points? You know, like we were having to, and now AI is just accelerating some of that.
Yeah.
But I think
We accept
AI is
some.
a big deal.
Well, we accept some, we eliminate others, and then we make it ours, which is exactly what you should be doing in your marketing and in all of your posts. Run it through AI and see if you can improve the way you express, the efficiency, and not overstate or not use too many words. I mean, it's a fascinating tool for sure.
Yeah.
It's
Brett, real
effective.
quick, there's just one
Yeah.
thing I want to point out, that you can actually teach AI the different language models like ChatGPT and Claude and all of those, Gemini. You can teach them what you do for a living so that you actually appear higher in those types of searches that are queries with AI, large language models.
Yeah.
I'm in Lauren Lucas's AI mastermind, and she actually taught how to do this. So you create something called a schema, you do it online, you cut and paste it into the backside of your website, and it instead of a website or a ChatGPT model having to infer what you do, you're literally telling it, I'm a local realtor. These are the neighborhoods I work in, blah, blah, blah. So it's like
Yeah.
a shortcut to getting a better result when people ask AI.
I'll just make this statement, Mark, like there was a period of time that social media became a thing in real estate. And there was two camps of agents. There were camps of agents that leaned in and camps of agents that leaned out. And fast forward, you can't imagine real estate today without some social media element. Well, AI's got that factor going on right now. We've got a camp of agents that are leaning into it and a camp of agents that are leaning out. And I promise you, we're going to wake up in a few years and you're not going to imagine the real estate business without this AI in it. And it's just those things come at us. And it's just a reminder to lean in things like this instead of leaning out and waiting. All right. So this article, I think is brilliant, first of all. And this is just like the article with the templates. I would encourage you to download this article and really kind of digest it because we're not going to have enough time to go deep into it. But the big picture is open houses is become such an incredible lead source for the working real estate professional today. And because we have inventory now, and because you have listings, but the open house of 5 years ago looks very different than the open house of today. And what I mean by that is the promotion and the pre-work and how you get the exposure is not just signs in yards. It in the past there was signs in yards with balloons and knocking on the neighbors' doors. Now it's what does the digital marketing around an open house really look like? This guy rolls out an entire plan in this article, and I think you should, I hate when it does that. I think you should absolutely download this article and take a look at it. Any highlights that y'all saw when you read it?
I mean, I think there's really great stuff in this article, and if you can watch the video and you can hear it, but I think you could also open up the MREA playbooks that we have. We have 2 volumes of the playbook, and each one of those has several open house systems that work at a high level for different people in Keller Williams, and they've shared their systems. So I would be leaning into that as well. In particular, doing the digital pre-marketing, sharing it on social media, emailing it to your sphere, but also, using 15 to 17 signs minimum as pointer signs is now kind of what people are saying brings success.
There
Yeah,
you
if you're
go.
going to lead generate and make calls every day and connect with people in your database and even the haven't mets, why not do it in an open house and double dip? I mean, that's my thought. At least you're in an environment where people who are motivated and have potential to buy or sell real estate are wandering into your opportunity. And so you're meeting people that you wouldn't naturally or normally meet in some cases, and go ahead and make all your calls straight from there. I mean, you're going to do it somewhere. They're probably not going to walk into your living room and ask you if you're, able to help them find the perfect home.
Yep. Well, listen, there's your Monday industry update. I'd encourage you to go watch our Mojo Monday. It was a great one. They always are great, but today's was really great. And go make $1 million, guys.
And just, I wanted to applaud everybody for turning on their camera. Thanks, guys. Good to see your beautiful faces.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Hey, Guy, what's going on? What's up, Keith, Daryl,
Give them a head
Sherry,
nod and a
Melissa,
tilt, and then
Jeff,
they'll understand later.
here's Hubert, Mahir, Constance, Jane, Claire. Did I miss anybody? You guys are awesome. Makes the call much better. See ya.
For sure.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys.